like a conductor thing.
Oh.
You're like headphones on, like you're waiting for Tessa to do it like at the same exact time.
I was.
You failed. Welcome to A Queer, a Hippie, and a Karen. Hi.
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 Hi. So we're just sitting here in my dining room. We're recording multiple podcasts at once. So if we're in the same outfit,
We do change clothes and shower.
we do shower and change clothes. It's just that we record multiple podcasts because we can't always get together to get these done. So, today's topic. When do you introduce someone you're dating to your children? Oh, you want that one? Controversial. So, I've had children, and I've been in multiple relationships. I also feel like the gay world moves a lot faster than the straight world. You know, the joke about what does a lesbian bring to their first date? A U-Haul truck. Like... And I don't really remember really how soon it was that I introduced my children to people I was dating. So, and I know, Bree, you have one child that's like a stepchild of the person that you're with.
Correct.
So how soon did your partner meet your daughter once you were dating?
I want to say it was close to a couple of months, but it was like on a very limited, not like a very personal interaction where it wasn't really like introduced as a relationship or that we were very, lovey. It was like, oh, like she's in the car while I give you a ride quick or something like that type of thing.
And how old was she?
4.
Okay, so she was pretty young.
Yep, she was pretty little. So, I would say a couple months before any kind of meeting and probably closer to like 3 or 4 months when we actually started like doing things together.
Kind of as like a family, quote unquote, kind of.
Yep, I want to say that we took her out for ice cream at the McDonald's Playland on their first like getting to know each other kind of thing.
That's cute.
Yeah.
That's nice. So then here's an interesting scenario. What happens if you start dating someone that your kids already know and are part of their lives? Like, how does
He's
that...
referring to me.
How does that work then?
I don't know. I don't know that I'm dating someone.
It hasn't been labeled.
We just acted normal.
Yeah.
Like we didn't hang out with the kids, just us, for months after talking.
So then what is your opinion on how long you think you should wait?
A long time. Way past the honeymoon stage.
But for someone like you, who has your kids all the time, right, most of the time, how do you find time to date someone if you always have your children?
Oh, I hate to say this. I went on a date. A Tinder date. I had Tinder for one day, and he's probably going to listen to this podcast.
I'm just learning this, by the way. And I think Bree knew.
Oh, I knew.
Yeah. I went on
didn't know
one
you
Tinder
didn't.
date, and I took Willow with me because, like, I just have her 24/7.
Well, and she's a baby. She doesn't know.
Yeah. The boys were with their dad. I mean, it went fine. She's a baby.
I'm still shocked that Tessa went on a Tinder date.
I was on Tinder for like 3 hours. This is the only thing that came out of it.
And have you talked since this Tinder date?
I mean, yeah, we've talked. It wasn't a bad date. I just was like, this is so weird. I cannot date. How do you go from being married to someone and then you're like, what's your favorite color?
Cheesy questions you ask
So
on your
weird.
first. Does he have children?
The guy I went on a date with?
Yeah.
No. But he was very understanding. Great guy.
Yeah. Older? Younger? Around the same age?
Older.
How much older?
A couple years.
Oh, okay. You're not looking for a sugar daddy?
I'm not looking for anyone. I'm committed, but
You're...
this was a while ago.
You're
Like,
committed
Oh.
to your non-committed relationship?
Yes.
I just think the whole thing is such a gray area. Every scenario is different. Every situation's different. In some situations, maybe you don't have much of a choice. Maybe you fall into a situation that person's willing to help you. Maybe you're struggling, you don't have like childcare or something, and you dated somebody, they're like, hey, I can help you out, and what, you know, like, so I feel like people may blur those lines a little when you need that support from somebody that's willing to give it.
Well, and that brings up a question. How much do you share with your children's father about your dating life? And vice versa, how much do you expect from your children's father on what they're doing with their dating life?
I guess that's dependent on what stage they're at. You know, if you're gonna move in with this person and have my children potentially like living there partially or staying there, like at that point, like you owe it to me for me to know more about this person.
So you're not a mom that'd be happy if your kid came home and said, hey, I met Susan today, Dad's new girlfriend.
No way.
No.
Nope.
No, but I haven't had to deal with that much. When Sadie was really little, you know, a couple different times, but her dad's been with now the same person for the same amount of time I've been with Andrew.
Okay.
Actually, probably a little bit longer. So I haven't had to deal with that too much, thankfully.
That's lucky.
Yeah.
It is nice when... So I looked up this dadsdivorce.com, and they do have an article on what they recommend for this. So Alan Welsh, a licensed therapist with the LifeWorks group in Winter Park, Florida, says, don't hurry to introduce someone new to your kids. The tendency is to be very excited that you've met someone you really like, especially after a tough divorce. Because of that excitement, people believe their kids will share the same feeling. Welch explains that children become attached to new people in their life. If the relationship doesn't work out, then the bond the children established is broken. Kids begin to expect instability and will lose focus and attention in school, work, and their own friendships.
I don't disagree with that.
I feel like that's more like for extreme cases. Like you're constantly dating someone new every month and they're meeting your kids and the kids are bonding.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I've seen those situations in particular that I can admit I've been a little judgy on, but sometimes judgment is warranted, in my opinion. And,
I'm so judgy on this topic.
You know, I've seen where people have literally like family photos with their kids and like 5 different guys. Like, you know, when you're taking it to that level of creating this sense of like a family, but then it's disposable every time,
Right.
is very unhealthy in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And that's where you end up with children that could end up with reactive attachment disorder later in life as an adult.
Yep.
What do they call that? They say you can't have RAD as an adult, even though I know lots of adults that I could say you have RAD. But I think it's like disassociated something. So then you're messing kind of with your kid's own mental health.
I think a good rule of thumb would be to kind of go on your instinct and your intentions. You know, you can't predict the
I think you
future and
should
if you're
wait.
going to be with someone forever. But if what your goal is and your intent out of that relationship is for it to be something long-term and stable, kind of use your best judgment. But if you know that you're just in it for fun and it's not something that's going to be long-term, why bother bringing that into your kid's life?
So do you think it's important when you're like in the dating scene that you are seeking other parents?
No.
Not necessarily.
No?
No, I don't think that really is relevant. I think just seeking somebody that's going to be accepting and good with your kids.
Right.
I don't think I could date someone with kids.
You know what? What's that old movie? Like 20 Plus Us or something like that. The really old movie where
I'm not sure I've seen that.
the guy has like 10 kids and the woman has 10 kids and they get married.
Isn't that like cheaper by the dozen?
I have seen that. Yeah, I think it is.
Is it?
I have seen that one.
So, according to Dr. Tina Tessina, she's also known as Dr. Romance. She's a licensed psychotherapist and author of the Unofficial Guide to Dating. She says children should not have any clue that their parents are even dating. Until the relationship is a serious one, children shouldn't know about mom or dad's new partner. She suggests that you should wait at least 6 months before you introduce your children to whoever you're dating.
I think it's hard to put a number on it. You
Yeah.
should at least wait until after your first argument
And whether you make it through that.
so that you know how they argue. Yeah, I don't think there's a set time. But I also know a lot of people that rush into it. And they're like so excited to become a family, especially in divorce. You want to look like you have your stuff together. And so you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to make this great family for my kids. And then,
Right.
yeah, and then you move in with your girlfriend after 2 months of dating and want your kids to move in.
No one in particular. Just people.
No one in particular.
Well, she also says if any of the children are still in pain over the separation or divorce, parents will need to wait longer. This is to eliminate confusion while kids process their pain and grieve the loss of their former family unit.
For sure. I also think, though, that, like in my situation, my partner has stepped up, and he is
I for sure agree with that. He's so
helpful
great with
my
your kids.
And they really rely on him, not as like a father figure, but
Just a
as
man
like
in their life.
Just
Yeah,
someone
just as a
stable in their
mentor.
life.
Yep,
That
and-
they know cares and supports their mom.
yeah, which is really, it's been really good for them.
I just got a text from my spouse, and he says, "You have good background music down there coming from Emmy," because he's over there singing. Yeah, I do think, I think about that. I got divorced from my wife at the time, married straight out of high school, had 2 children, and I think in my situation, I really wasn't being true to who I was. And I honestly think that my kids actually benefited seeing me happy in a relationship, rather than being, I'm not saying stuck in a marriage. My wife wasn't a horrible person or anything. Just the body parts were wrong. But I think it's also good for your children because sometimes even bio dads suck ass. And they're not really good parents, and they're not good role models for the children.
And bio moms for that matter.
At the same time. So sometimes just having, your kids not even knowing that you're dating, like maybe not showing affection or stuff like that around them, but still having that positive role model of in the case of a dad, having a positive male romance or role model and a positive female role model in their lives. I do think there's importance in children being able to experience that from all sides. Willow's not happy with her snacks.
And I think on this topic too, you really have to just think about your kids in specific. Every kid is different, and every kid is going to respond to that differently. I think if it's a healthy, person that's going to be positive for some kids, maybe that's what they need at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe rather than waiting, some kids are going to benefit more from having that positive person and interaction happening in their life.
Right.
I know when I was a kid, I truly kind of embraced, I was lucky enough that the people that my parents dated were great to me. on both ends of that spectrum, and I carried that with me all the way through into my adulthood, and there's still people that are very special to me. Some are gone, some are not here. But, you know, I have two different people that I consider both of them my stepdads. One's still alive, one is no longer, but they meant just as much to me as my dad. And my stepmom growing up, too, she was an amazing person, still is an amazing person, and I love her very much. So for me, I kind of embraced that, and it was just that much more people in my life that loved me and that I had for support. So I just think every kid's different. Every kid needs something different out of those situations.
For sure.
Just stop talking.
The topic has been discussed.
Well, and I think so too. I was listening to you guys. Sorry, I was getting the baby some cheese and lunch meat. But I think about, like, my mom divorced my bio dad when I was, I want to say 7. So my sister would have been really young. She would have been like 1 or 2. Not this sister, my other sister. Never been a part of our lives after that. And like my dad that I have now, that my mom's been married to for, I don't know, like 20 some odd years. It's been a long time. It's been like my dad. And I was at the age when the divorce happened to understand that I had a bio dad and now I have my dad now. And I understand like he's awesome. He's always been a positive role model in my life. He's always been there for all of us. He bitches during all of it, right? Like, I'm sure he bitched during the whole mouse thing in your house.
Rats.
But he's, right? But he's always there to help when the help is needed, even though he'll be a little bitchy about it. And so, when you're talking about positive role models, stuff like that, like you're talking about your parents divorcing and stuff.
They were never technically married, but...
Right, right. She also says there's other situations that prompt more time. Like new partners who happen to be friends with the ex. So we're talking like if you were dating somebody who's friends with your ex-husband.
Which we kind of talked about on Girl Code is not.
And there's a rare situations where that's acceptable. And
Right.
there are some, but
Well, I think
rare.
it depends on how long you were married, because sometimes when you're married, you formed married friends, right? Mm-hmm. You as a married couple have these people that you hang out with, and if you're doing it for years and years and years, sometimes you know, I was with a guy for 10 years, never really married, had a ceremony before it was legal in our state to get married. And he has a grandma who, like, her husband died. So then she married his brother. And then he died. And she married his best friend. So she kept it all very tight, you know. But I think it's because that's where your comfort is, right? It's more comfortable to seek a relationship with someone that you kind of already know who they are as a person rather than starting over fresh.
That's such a fine line for me still. Like, I couldn't imagine dating one of my significant other's friends after we split up.
Yeah.
It just seems so off limits to me.
That's why when I met my current spouse, we've been married for 3 years, or together for 3 years. I don't know what it is. But I was like on Plenty of Fish, and I didn't even have it to set for this area. Like, I'm not looking for anybody in my city. Like, I've lived here since I was a freshman in high school. I know a lot of the gay community here, and no shade on the gay community, but we all kind of know each other, and we know people, and we know exes and stuff like that. So it was important to me to look for someone outside of my city, and that's where I met my spouse now. You know, down towards the cities more. So I kind of here's what you should do. Get yourself a nice Canadian.
I'm not looking.
A nice Canadian.
A nice Canadian. Actually, you know, I can talk highly about who she is seeing, not seeing, is not in a relationship right now. Like, he's pretty cool. He's great with the kids.
I'm fond of him as well.
Yeah,
I think
he's
he's
a
a
little
great confidant for you.
He's a little quiet during family functions, but that's understandable because our family is kind of loud and in people's faces and hugging and loving and how you doing, and and even my husband's like, I'm just gonna sit over here on my phone because there's just so much happening with the 15 children in the family.
I wonder if
and-
that's why your family likes and embraces me so much. Because I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
yes, I'll hug you. Your mom hugs me every time I see her.
because you interact. Another situation that prompts more time, she says, is a significant age difference.
Why?
Well, I'm not understanding why that would be relevant.
Well, what if you were, say, I'm 42, right? And I start to go date someone, I have, young children or high school and younger, and I go and start dating someone who's in their 20s.
Oh, sure.
I guess, but I don't think that time is going to make a difference with that. It's kind of going to be shocking.
Right. If they're like that
Regardless.
close in age to your children, it's always going to be weird. Like,
Yeah.
you ain't my mom. Weren't you like the grade ahead of me?
Weren't you in geometry with me last quarter?
Weren't you my math tutor?
Ooh, that gets weird.
She also says, or are the first partner after a divorce are all very likely to upset children and the father's former spouse. So remember, this is a divorced dad's page. So she's talking directly to divorced dads. So I don't really understand that statement she said, though. Or you are the first partner after a divorce.
So the kids or the former spouse would be most sensitive, which is very true.
Oh, so it's your first dating someone after your divorce.
Yeah.
Okay. Because don't they sometimes say that, like, scientifically those tend not to work out? Like, that's your
Yeah.
rebound
Well,
relationship,
I don't believe
which is
in
not.
rebounds,
No.
but I can see that. It takes a lot of understanding. It's kind of rough.
I think it just depends on how your kid's dealing with the divorce. Now, if it's like a super abusive situation and stuff, the kids might be happy. I mean, they might not be struggling with the fact that the divorce actually happened. There's situations where the kids are not negatively affected by the divorce itself. It's actually more of a positive impact in their life. And, if your kids are babies and they're not, there are those age groups too where they really don't know anything other than their surroundings have changed. The people that are around them the most, they don't grasp the whole situation. And then those, I don't know, when they're babies, they don't know any better.
Right. They don't remember.
Right.
I would say, like, 2 and under.
Yeah.
But they still build attachments to people.
They build attachments, right, but they don't always remember. Like, I remember when Emmy was a baby, like Willow is now, and Emmy would come to work all the time. We used to all work together, and, like, we had a bond. And then Emmy stopped coming to work. And then he forgot. I don't know if he forgot I don't think he forgot who I was, but more like not understanding the situation of why he's not seeing me at work and he's seeing me in a different environment.
Right.
Now, as he gets older, he, of course, remembers who I am and everything like that. So, and now Willow comes to work, but I don't work at that work anymore. So then I get nervous that my bond with Willow is going to be like what happened with Emmy, and I had to wait for Emmy to be old enough to understand who I am in his life, and that I'm not going to see him all the time. Because it was heartbreaking. I was like crying about it. Like, I was so sad. I remember the first time I saw Emmy after he stopped coming to work. And he was so, like, standoffish with me, where he used to be like, oh, take me. And I remember I just went home and cried.
Oh.
I was just so sad because I'm like, oh, my God, that bond broke. And so I don't want that to happen to, and I don't think it's happened with Willow since. She still comes to me and stuff like that. And it's been a few weeks since I've been at the work with you guys. So, but
I know that me and Willow share a special work bond.
She just loves your boobs, Bree.
She loves me.
you're like a buffet. So then, how do you introduce your children to the person you're dating? What would be like a...
Go somewhere fun, so the kids don't even notice them because they're preoccupied.
Well, I think that's fun. I think that's a good idea because I think if you do something like a dinner where they're forced to interact with the person in like a
Awkward.
sitting,
Yeah.
but if you allow the person you're dating to do something fun and interactive with your children, then I think that forms a good bond.
It worked for me. That's what I did.
I didn't.
We
but
did
sounds
McDonald's
like a good
Playland.
plan.
And I think one of our, shortly thereafter, I think one of our next things we did was we went to the circus. So we did like some fun things where if they wanted to interact, they could, but there was also distractions if things were going to get awkward and stuff like that. And it turned out fine for us.
Well, Nancy Fagan, Fagan, did an article on dadsdivorce.com as well. And she says to encourage, she encouraged you to discuss with the children who they will be meeting beforehand. And I guess it kind of depends on the age of your children, right?
Yep.
I think school age and higher, maybe like third grade or higher, where they can comprehend what's being said to them. She says, don't try to talk them into liking the person. Instead, let them know however they are feeling is okay. So validating their feelings. Dr. Tina Tessina, Dr. Romance, we talked about before, she suggests to introduce new partners more as a friend than someone that you're actually in a relationship with. After enough time passes and you're happy with how your new partner treats your children, establish a formal relationship label is then at that time appropriate. Yeah?
I think that's fair. Mm-hmm. I just think the time frames are going to be different for everyone.
It is. You're the one that has to control the timeline if you're the one with the children, mm-hmm. and not having the person that you're dating or in a relationship with push you in either direction. It's almost like it'd be like a red flag if they want to try to meet them too quickly, or if they keep pushing off on meeting
right.
them. It both to me are like red flag. Like you don't want to have
land
children
somewhere in the middle.
Or
I think
one
they should just support you and wait for you to bring it up.
Right.
But I don't know. As an ex, I think my hardest thing is supporting the relationship, like wanting my kids to have that second person. But I was still married to that person, so I'm like waiting for them to see the real person, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be bad. Just wait.
Hey girl, shoot me a text after you're done with this person.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, want them to work out.
You do want
like,
happiness.
I want my kids to have a good bond.
Yeah.
Like Carter, the other day, he didn't want to go see them. He didn't want to go to their house, and I was like, it's going to be so fun. And it ended up being fine. He came home, he's like, yeah, Mom, you were right. But,
well, that's good.
So I tried to support that, but...
So do you struggle
so
with
hard.
the idea of not your parents? How do you mentally accept that your kids will have a stepmom? Like,
I guess you've never had to do that.
No, I went straight to being gay, and then my ex-wife never married and never had another relationship, even to this day. And so I never had to share my children with a stepfather, which is like when you go back to you, it's like, well, I kind of wanted my ex-wife to be happy, and maybe she is happy, We co-parented just fine, but we weren't like best friends that shared feelings and stuff like that. And maybe being single, and not remarried was the way she wanted to be. But where are you at? Like, how does it make you feel when you think about there could be a stepmom in the future?
I hate it. Lots of therapy. Lots of my therapists putting me in my place, like, hey, Tessa, it's not about you. But
isn't it?
it feels like it, and I'm kind of selfish. Like, they're my kids. Don't even look at them.
Don't say their name.
You can have him all you want. I don't want him. Don't touch my kids.
Do you guys remember that movie Stepmom? Julia Roberts.
Yep.
And the mom, and how that movie kind of
Great
started. I can still remember moments and cry. But then, I don't remember who the main mom was. Susan Sarandon?
Yeah.
Was that her? And she ended up, like, getting cancer. And then
Yeah, she's with the red curly hair, right?
Yeah. And she ended up dying. She didn't beat her cancer. And so then Julia Roberts was like she played a younger stepmom. The husband was older and stuff. And I remember Susan Sarandon struggling with this person that their kids are going to call mom or stepmom or whatever name you choose to have. But I think my biggest thing, even when my kids were younger, in case Naomi did get, or my ex-wife did get remarried, was having multiple people, right? That's where you get nervous about, okay, now my ex is seeing this person, and it goes back to that first article. They formed a bond, now that person's gone.
Right.
And now here's another person. And like, how many dads is my kid going to have? Or stepdads is my kid going to have?
Yeah, that's where you need to be certain of where at least your intentions for the relationship are going.
How do you guys feel about people that you maybe were in a long relationship with, never married? They were a step parent to your children. Your relationship is over, but they still want to have a relationship with your children.
I don't think you get to take that away. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to share a ton of my personal stuff, but me and my significant other did split up for a very short period of time. One time in the almost 10 years we've been together, and he is the stepfather of my oldest, and nothing was different for her. She went with him when our son went with him. Like, it was... He got the same amount of time with her that he did with our son. You still had that
family unit.
Right, absolutely. Where she didn't feel like now she didn't matter, because their relationship is not based off of my relationship with him. They have their own relationship.
Right.
And that's somebody who's been a consistent, stable person in her life and has treated her well and been a father figure. So I think that's very selfish.
That comes to choosing your person too, because they should care about your child enough and be involved in their life, in my opinion.
Yes.
That they want to have that relationship.
Absolutely.
I like it. This was a good topic. It's actually our longest podcast so far. I didn't think I would have... Tessa brought this topic to us, and I didn't think I would actually have much to say.
Neither did I.
But then I think about, like you had brought up, being a child of a divorced family. You know, and then it's like, oh, well, that applies to me as well, and understanding it. Good topic. With that, goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Oops. Gotta hit the button.